Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this.
Hello, and welcome to Cracked Sisters Conspiracies. We're a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all over spooky shit. My name is Jackie.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we are said sisters.
Well, hello there.
Well, hello.
It has been a minute and a half since we recorded anything.
It's been at least 3 or 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah, clearly put in the effort for today.
I had to shower because we played pickleball earlier today, so.
I still need to shower from my morning's activities and just haven't yet.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
What is new with you?
Nothing really, just living life, getting through day by day, not really looking forward to going to work tomorrow just because,
Why?
The world is ending.
Oh, well, yeah, it's always ending.
Beyond that, it's good. I went to my first hockey game and first NHL game yesterday. That was a lot of fun.
Did they win?
They did. It was a shutout. They won 3-0 against the Edmonton Oilers. We saw a Kings game.
Okay.
But I had a great time. Don't get me wrong. I think I would have had more fun if I was down in the stands with everyone else.
Were you in a box?
We were in a suite. So.
Oh no.
I know.
You poor thing.
We had booze and food and could move and talk, but you get so distracted that you don't watch the game as much. And I wanted to see people take elbows to the face and lose their teeth, and they didn't. But whatever. I still had a really good time.
Did you ever see that video that was maybe a month ago of a U.S. team? I don't know which one that was playing in Canada, and they booed our national anthem. And then we, as the U.S., just fucking destroyed them and made them wish they were never born. It was the best thing ever.
No, but there was a lot of Americans chanting "You suck" to the Canadians that were there yesterday. Oh. Tensions are high globally.
And this was a really big thing that happened not too long ago. So I think, they're still a little mad at each other.
Yeah, this whole trade war thing, but whatever, no big deal.
Let's see. I continued my tattoo last week.
Yes. So you're getting closer.
Yeah. I had to tap out towards the end because it just started feeling like I was getting stabbed by a million needles. And I'm like, hey, how much longer? She's like, 45 minutes. I'm like, cool. And after 10 minutes, I'm like, can we be done now? And she's like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, this hurts.
How many more sessions do you have left, do you think?
A million. Probably 3 if I had to guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And how many hours are you doing usually?
Between 5.5 and 7.
Okay, so you're sitting for long stretches of time.
I am. So I'm proud of myself for that. Because like I said, before I even started, I was scared I wouldn't even make it past an hour just because I'd never sat for that long. And I'm good usually until hour 4.5.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, this is kind of starting to hurt. And then after 5.5, I'm usually really, really sad. And I haven't used numbing cream except the first session that I ever did because that was a full 8-hour session. So I think I'm going to ask her about it next time. She has her own brand that she uses just because she wasn't even on my tricep, but you know how it feels like it's closer to certain areas.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, you're not even touching my tricep and this fucking hurts. And I'm like, and then we have my bicep next.
Painful. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just so worried. So I'm like, I don't want to
this
everyone's
right
time.
Here was the worst part.
Well, that sucks. Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
No.
Yeah, we only made it to here. So it top end of my tricep, but it fucking hurt and it still hurts really bad. It's very tender.
So when you do the tricep, have her start. If she's going to do other parts at the same time, have her start there. You'll sit with your arm behind you or whatever and just knock it out. Get it done first, because if that is what you have to come back to at the end, you're going to want to kill yourself. So don't do it.
That's true.
And I was thinking about I got my arm done over 2 different points in time. So I did the first half of it 9 years ago and then just finished the other half of my sleeve. And so all in, I have probably 15 hours total. Yeah. But then when I think of Evan's back, he did his whole back, he probably did, I don't know, almost 40 hours of work on his back.
Yeah, I mean, I know. And I'm like, oh, my arm's not that big. It won't take long. But she does amazing work. But it's so intricate that I'm like,
it takes
after 2 hours, I'm like,
you've
only done that? I thought we would be done by now, but I mean, obviously,
it does not work that way.
I know. I started my second job.
Yes, because we are headed for another recession.
I know. I won't say what it is, but it's a very popular shopping marketplace. Retail store.
That's a retail job as a Jessica.
I really don't know what I'm doing for work. I think they don't know what I'm doing for work. It's very confusing, but I'm getting paid, so I don't really care.
That's all that matters. So exactly. Cool.
And then lastly, I think I have skin cancer.
It runs in the fam. What you got? I
have this like mass that has appeared. It feels like scar tissue, and it's circular. So it reminds me every time I touch it. It reminds me that like if I were to have gotten shot and scar tissue formed over the bullet hole, that's what it feels like. And it's raised, and it gets really itchy. And technically, it doesn't have even borders. But I got my bill from the last time I went to the doctor because my new last name and my old last name hadn't merged, and so they didn't recognize my insurance.
Lovely.
So they tried to get me to pay like $800. So I'm not really keen on going to the doctor anytime soon, but
fair.
I die.
Okay. Yeah. Evan has this weird growth in his arm that's been there for years, and it's gotten a little bit bigger. So, whatever's going to take us out is going to get us. We really have no control in life. That's all I know.
Oh, did you ever get your results back?
I did, and I'm not dying. So that's cool. At least from one of my things.
Yeah, I figured if mine was negative, yours would also be negative.
Yes. I found out some other weird genetic things that I'm predisposition to, but nothing scary. It was more weird, and I don't remember what any of them were. But
okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what my topic is today? Speaking of scary and weird.
No, not even a little bit.
That's okay, because when I did the editing for the last episode, I couldn't get it out. You asked me what I was covering, and I could not form the word. So it doesn't surprise me that you don't remember.
Okay.
But today, I'm going to be covering the Georgia human egg farm.
Yeah, don't remember that at all.
I see. No recognition on your face.
Not even a spark. Nope.
Okay, so imagine you, Cass. You're living in Thailand. You're in need of some money, like everybody is. Did you say no?
Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
Okay.
You're living in Thailand, you need some money, scrolling through Facebook, because that's what you does, and you find a job posting that's advertising an income of 400,000 to 600,000 baht, which is about 11,500 or 1,700 US dollars.
Okay.
So as your face suggested, that would be pretty interesting.
Sure.
You're not too sure about it, so you reach out just to see what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And a woman who posted the job, she actually gets back to you and she explains that they're looking for surrogate mothers or childless couples that live in Georgia. And you yourself are of childbearing age, and you're like, I don't have any oppositions to this. I'm open to this. So you guys continue talking. And the woman, explains you'll get your income, which is pretty substantial. You're going to get an all expenses paid trip to Georgia. We're going to fly you out. We'll fly you home. We're going to cover your passport application. We're going to cover everything you need. You just basically have to say yes, and then we take it from there.
Quick question. Which Georgia are we talking about?
The country of Georgia.
Okay. Just wanted
Not
to make
the
sure.
U.S. state.
Not this. Okay.
If you came to U.S. Georgia, it wouldn't be too bad.
No. Okay. Continue.
All of this information and talking to this woman kind of makes you think that, this job is kind of legit. And you've heard of many women, Thai women specifically, that go to Georgia or India or all these other places in order to be surrogates. It's a common practice. It's not like it's something so like on the black market or something. So you're like, fuck it. Let's do it. So you tell this chick you're in. And then after a little bit of time, you and about 10 other women are flown out to Georgia, the country. When you arrive, you meet that woman that you were talking to. Again, still seems legit. And then she's like, hey, why don't you guys put all your bags and all your shit in the car? Let's get you guys over to the house that you're going to stay at.
Am I being trafficked?
Do you think you're being trafficked thus far?
I'm starting to feel like something might not be right, but continue.
Okay. Well, let's continue and you tell me if that changes. In either way. So you drive to the property and you find that it's like a big plot of land with 4 relatively large houses on it. And you and the 10 other women are like, cool, this is a good setup. We all got space. This is good. So you guys get out of the van and you go into the house and you see that maybe it's not as spacious as you thought, because in addition to you and the 10 other women, there's also about 60 to 100 other women inside of these 4 homes.
Oh.
So now, how you feeling?
I feel worse because I feel like I am now on a dairy farm or something.
Yeah.
It's a breeding house.
Exactly. So instantly you're like, something's not right here. I don't necessarily think this is what I was promised. So you go up to the couple of men that are in these homes
First mistake.
who happen to be members potentially of a Chinese gang.
Okay.
And you're like, hey man, this is not what I was promised. This doesn't, really fit my vibe. I think I'm just gonna go. So like, why don't you guys like give me a ride back or help me pack up my shit? And then immediately they're like, yeah, that's not gonna happen because you are in this country illegally. And remember when you packed all your shit in the car to get here? Well, we still have your shit. So we have your passport, we have your documentation, and anything that you would need to prove who you are. So either you can try to leave and we're gonna call the cops and you're gonna get arrested for being in this country illegally, or you can just stay here and do what we ask. You are like, well, I don't really have a choice. So now you're trapped. And basically, this is what happened realistically for about 100-ish women in the country of Georgia.
Awesome. Couple of follow-up questions. Do we know if there is a Thailand embassy within reach? Because I keep forgetting I'm not an American in this situation.
You're not.
I'm already at a disadvantage right out the gate.
Not that there is one that you can easily get to.
Okay.
Nor did you probably look that information up prior to your trip.
See,
and they have your phone too, right? They have all your belongings. So you have no Google. You can't just look
this bizarro version of me I'm already disappointed in because she knows better. If she is anything like the real me, she would know all of the escape routes and exits ahead of time.
Of course. Well, you let yourself down in this case.
I really did.
So, like with any human trafficking situations, all of the victims are basically immediately indebted to their traffickers. Even though this isn't what you were promised, you have a house, so you have a roof over your head. You're getting food, whether it's good or not, you're getting some sort of food. So now you need to somehow pay off this debt that you have because they're paying for your housing, they're paying for your food, they're paying for your passport fees that they did to get you here. So now you owe all of that money back to them. The only way in order to pay it is to work for them and do what you kind of originally agreed upon.
Okay.
Everyone was already in the mindset of, yes, I will be a surrogate. Yes, I roughly know what that means. So you kind of know what to expect. But in this case, it gets taken to kind of a worse level. So basically what happens is all of these men and everyone, the women that also help run this, who are the traffickers, they are injecting you against your will with hormones in order to mass produce your eggs. And then about once a month, you are put under anesthesia, which is at least nice of them. And then your eggs are forcefully harvested from you, and they are sold on either the black market or to Western couples who are believing that they are getting legitimate babies from legitimate,
So
reasons.
I am a chicken, not a cow.
Yes.
Okay.
And all of your shit is being taken from you against your will.
Awesome.
At some point, one of the women that was in this farm, I guess, she was able to get her hands on about 70,000 baht or just over 2,000 US dollars. And she was able to pay off her debt that she had. Don't know how she got this money.
$2,000? That's it? I mean, I guess.
That's a lot for them, right?
Yeah, okay.
Because you're not an American, you're in Thailand.
That's right.
So she was able to pay off her debt and they let her leave like idiots, I guess. So she left. She went back to Thailand and then she looked up and kind of synced up with this woman named Pavina Hongsulaka.
Okay.
So Pavina is the founder of the Pavina Foundation for Children and Women. She coordinated with Interpol and Foreign Affairs Police and was able to get 3 women inside of this home freed. Why it was only 3 women, I don't know at that time, but that's what they were able to do. And this happened on January 30th, 2025. So just a couple months ago.
Like just now. Okay.
And then as of now, so in April, the foundation was ultimately able to rescue 152 of the women that were inside of this thing, which is most of, if not all of the women.
Okay.
So now we're going to go into a little bit of surrogacy history.
Okay.
So in 2019 and before, it was extremely common and totally legal and legit for women to act as surrogates in Thailand, Nepal, India, Mexico, and Cambodia. It's just like a common side gig to get some money.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers or prospective parents liked exploring India and other kind of less evolved countries because it was cheaper. There were plenty of women to choose from because they all are hurting for money. And the laws were very minimal. So they were able to get away with some kind of shitty behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, these women nobly offered their bodies for these jobs. And instead of being treated fairly, with respect, with any sort of dignity, they were lined up in front of prospective parents. And the parents just walked around kind of like a brothel when you like walk in and get to choose your lady. So they were like, you're too ugly, you're too skinny, I don't like you, I don't like your teeth. So they were just like degrading these women in front of them in order to pick whoever their prospective mommy was, basically.
Ew.
A woman named Sheila, there's a lot of syllables in this, Surrogacy. Don't quote me on that. We're just going to call her Sheila.
Sorry,
She
Sheila.
did a study on 45 surrogate mothers, intended parents, and medical professionals in Gujarat, India from 2009 to 2019. When she published her findings, she was horrified with how the women were treated, and she pushed for laws to better regulate surrogacy in these types of countries.
Okay.
Here are some actual stories from the surrogates that she spoke with. So they were forced, as I mentioned, to stand in line and be gawked at and judged by their body types. The chubbier, more beautiful, Christian, light-skinned women were like the gold mine. That's what everyone wanted, because if you were chubbier, you were more successful, or the terms were more successful to like carry a baby.
Fuck yeah.
Everyone wanted light-skinned babies because usually these were for families in the West who didn't necessarily want darker-skinned babies. Everyone thinks that Christians are, the bee's knees, so they wanted Christians because you have good beliefs and bullshit. And then beautiful. No one wants an ugly baby mama, so they wanted, pretty lady. So that's kind of what they were looking for. One woman named Madhu was a popular choice since she met almost all of the criteria. She wasn't Christian, but everything else she
checked
matched
all those
what
boxes.
They wanted.
Okay.
So she was chosen for a couple and ended up getting pregnant with twins. Which is usually kind of a good thing because it just means there's more to choose from. But in this situation, when she had the twins, they came out a darker complexion than she was. So the parents said, this isn't what we agreed upon, and they refused to pay her, but they happily took the babies from her. So they just didn't pay her the amount that they agreed upon.
Oh, that's how that works.
On top of stiffing her the money, they also refused to let her see the babies in person. They wouldn't let her see a picture. They recorded the entire birth, but wouldn't let her have anything to do with it. And they just snatched up the babies, and she has no idea what they look like to this day.
Oh my God, the emotional, psychological trauma that she would have endured?
Yes, and this happens to multiple women. Rabina, she's another woman. She was pregnant. She also got pregnant with twins, but the family didn't want twins. They only wanted a boy. So they forced Rabina to abort the second child, the girl that was in her belly. And doing an abortion on only one fetus when there's multiple in the womb is extremely dangerous.
So hard. Yeah.
Yep. And she didn't agree to this. It was against her will. She said, let's carry it. You could just take one. I'll keep the other. But no.
She's just an incubator. Yeah.
Yeah. Sheila found in her research that multiple embryos were often transferred into a surrogate mother's womb to enhance the success rate, although legally only 3 embryos were allowed to be transferred at one time. It's kind of like IVF, where they put in a whole bunch with hopes of getting at least one, but they were just like completely dumping these embryos in these women to try to bump up the prosperity of getting pregnant with these babies. If more than 2 of the embryos survived, the clinic would perform selective abortions again, but almost always the female fetuses were killed because everyone wanted boys for whatever reason. So they would just go in and like get rid of a couple of the girls that were swimming around in there.
Not for whatever reason. It's because they don't value women. Look at China, and now they have a population crisis. So,
right? Stupid.
Yeah.
A woman named Ujwala, she needed 50,000 rupees in order to purchase a home. She decided that she was going to be a surrogate one time, get it out of the way. She had an agreement with this couple that they were going to pay her that exact amount. So she got pregnant successfully, but she ended up getting pregnant with 3 babies. So she had 2 girls and 1 boy. The parents only wanted 1 boy and 1 girl. So as usual, they forced her to abort the second girl. And because it was such a risky procedure, she started hemorrhaging almost immediately and ended up losing all 3 of the babies. which is very traumatic for everybody involved.
Yeah.
In this case, the family did still pay her that 50,000 rupees, but because she just went through an extremely traumatic event and she was now put in the ICU, well, she doesn't have medical care, so she has to pay for her stay in the ICU and she has to pay for her treatment to not die.
So she
By the
couldn't get her
time she got
house.
that 50,000 rupees, she couldn't afford her house anymore. And they went, sorry, that's not our problem. So she went through that whole entire thing. She's probably barren, I would
For
assume.
nothing.
For nothing. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Many women explained that there was no bonding whatsoever allowed between the surrogate mother and the child. A lot of times, mothers were kept in a separate room and they're like, you're going to pump and you're going to pump nonstop because we need milk to feed the baby, but you can't have anything to do with this child that you just grew and birthed. We just want your milk. And then once we have a good amount, the women were forced to take these pills and medications to stop lactation.
Right.
Because otherwise, your body will keep doing it at least for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then even though most women were voluntarily getting into these surrogacy positions, when the demand was low, women and children were taken against their will and trafficked into this type of business because it's a money-making business. They need people. And if you're not willing, they don't really care. They're going to take you anyway. There was a 13-year-old girl who was trafficked to Delhi. She was raped and forced to deliver 6 babies, not at once, but she was raped multiple times and delivered multiple babies. She was forced to breastfeed all of them for about 6 months and then was always abruptly cut off when the babies were sold to the forever homes, which is even more traumatic because that's a very close bonding experience with this child. Even though you know you're not going to keep it, even surrogates that are done legitimately, they don't breastfeed for an extended period of time like that.
Yeah.
In addition to all of the emotional trauma that these women and children were put through, surrogacy can also be very detrimental on a body, whether it's done legitimately or not. That's a lot of pregnancies. That's a lot of hormones that you're getting injected with, all these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these women, if they didn't die during the forced partial abortions or the labor or anything like that, they unfortunately suffered a variety of health concerns like high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, and many were given HIV or contracted HIV in the process because they don't care. You're not human.
They really don't, which is so fucked.
And then finally, in 2021, the Surrogacy Regulation Act was passed. The women that did the study, this was around in 2010, I believe. But she's like, by the time I finished my experiment in 2019, still nothing had happened. It hadn't come to fruition. They said, yeah, we're working on it. But it didn't actually pass until 2021. So that's at least 11 years that it just kind of went and no one did anything about it. But now it's finally passed. The act strictly enforces a certain amount of rules, and it has all these regulations for prospective parents, the surrogates, medical staff, and everyone has to follow these rules or else you get in some serious trouble.
Good.
So some of these rules are as follows.
Now a quick word from our sponsor. Do you live in the Bay Area? Are you in need of a CPR class for work or just to gain knowledge? Well, look no further because CPR Education has you covered. They host public classes every Saturday in Pleasant Hill, ranging from CPR and first aid, BLS for healthcare providers, infant essentials for new and expecting parents, and EMSA-approved courses for licensed childcare providers. Whatever need you have, CPR Education has a solution. Go to cpredu.com and use code CRACKED for 20% off any public class. That's CRACKED, and you'll get 20% off any class of your choosing. CPR Education, keeping people together.
There can be no abortion conducted without written consent from the surrogate mother, and it has to be done in accordance with the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act.
Okay.
Clinics cannot advertise with the intent of enticing women to be surrogates. You can't try to make it seem lucrative. It has to be something that they kind of come up on their own with.
Yeah.
Sex-selective abortions are prohibited. And then only women between the ages of 25 and 35 are eligible to involve themselves with this type of surrogacy. And then there's a whole bunch of other rules, thankfully, that are put in place, but it's kind of a little bit too late.
Yeah.
And then if anyone wanted to read more about this or more specific examples or studies or anything like that, the article that I read was from the Indian Forum titled Surrogacy Biomarkers in India. Troubling Stories from Before the 2021 Act. And I'll put the link in Patreon if you wanted to read it. It was pretty good. While this act has continued to help a lot of women, it doesn't help everybody because not every country has signed off on this act.
Right.
So as I mentioned earlier, those like 6 countries that were really lucrative in the past, all conform to this act. So now it's just moved to a different location. So now all the problems we discussed is now kind of happening in Ukraine, Georgia, Malaysia, Argentina, Colombia, Kenya, and South Africa.
Awesome.
I don't think we have any listeners from these specific countries that I just mentioned. But if you are out there and you are considering surrogacy, no matter what fucking country maybe don't, or do extensive fucking research. They have surrogacy.
Like there's legitimate avenues. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like legitimate clinics that you can work with. There's all these red flags that you can read about to see if you think this is legit, if you think you're going to get screwed out of money or like your baby harvested away from you kind of thing. So it's a really hard job. I would never or could never be a surrogate. Same thing goes for your eggs, because selling your eggs is a very lucrative job. You can get a shit ton of money for doing it, but you have to make sure that you're doing extensive research or else you're going to get yourself in this fucking shitty ass situation. And women have enough to worry about in this world. They don't need to worry about becoming livestock for infertile pieces of shit. So just be careful.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I was in my early 20s when we moved out and we were super poor. And I kept seeing things on Craigslist of all places to, sell your eggs and blah, blah, blah. And for a hot minute, I hovered over that. But then the more I thought about it, it was for selfish reasons. I'm like, ew, I have to like take shots and not drink and stuff. So that's what... Well, that's good. It was the lifestyle. It wasn't the thought that I might get fucking murdered or trafficked. I was not thinking that. I'm like, oh my God, we need to pay rent and other bills. So don't do that. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Yeah. Good God.
And most of these women, they, like I said, the study was done for a 10-year span. She's reached back out to them, and most of them are either in the same exact financial situation they were when they got into surrogacy, or they're worse off because now they have permanent medical conditions that they have to worry about, or they have lasting psychological trauma that has been imparted on them. So it's just not worth it, man.
If money were meant to come easy, everyone would be comfortable and not have to do shit like this. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
True that.
So just proceed with caution. Oh my God, that was so depressing.
Those 125 women or 152 women were rescued. I mean, obviously these are going to continue to pop up, and I'm sure there's many more currently in operation, but it's just something to think about and to worry about and be very cautious about.
Yeah. My God. Well, I have no idea what I'm going to do for my next topic, but hopefully it won't be as bleak as that, because we went back to back 2 really depressing episodes.
That's right. Sorry. I forgot about that.
It's okay. The world's ending and y'all are fucked. So, you know, that's really the messaging that's coming from Crack Sisters lately. But
there you go.
So I'll figure something out by the time we record, which... maybe in a week or 2, which may not be until I see you when you come visit.
Yeah, I do plan on having an episode. So whether we do 2 episodes or just 1, I definitely want to do 1 in person since I'll be there in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. But in the meantime, always looking for suggestions. So you can reach out to us on our various social media platforms. You can send us a good old-fashioned email at crackedsistersconspiracies@gmail.com. We have Patreon. We have a website, I think. We have all of the major social media platforms. Instagram's probably the one that we check the most frequently. But looking forward to feedback and suggestions. And with that, I'm going to say stay cracked, y'all.
And have a great day.